me recap what we discussed in our previous session, right? So, very specifically, in our previous session, we started to discuss about business, right? So, I gave you all a few definitions, what exactly mean by a business, right? Then we learned about the difference between just a normal activity and an economic activity, right? So, a business is an economic activity that, of course, now we all know very well. And also on top of that, we discussed the most important part in that discussion, where we discussed about the main characteristics of a business, right? Where we discussed the main characteristics of a business, right? I took simple examples and explained you all how to exactly identify a proper business. Okay. And then afterwards, students, as you can see on my screen, right, we discussed the two main activities of a business, right? The two main activities of a business, right? So you all know the two main activities of a business is actually first one is the main activity satisfying human needs and wants, right? And then the second activity of a business is actually adding value to resources. So I took you through a small example of how value is being added to the tea leaves and converted into tea powder and a very nice cup of tea, right? So in that we discussed how value is being added to resources by a business organization, which is a very important activity of a business, right? Okay. So students, now today, right? Today our discussion will take things forward in our discussion, right? Right. So today we will be discussing about the main aims of a business organization, right? Main aims of a business, right? So students, as I mentioned, today we will be discussing about the main aims of a business organization, right? Okay, right? Main aims, right? Now, අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා ව්‍යාපාරයක් කරද්දී යම්කිසි අරමුණු තියෙන්න ඕනේ, right? Not in business, even in life also, you cannot just live your life without any plan, without a particular goal, or without a particular aim, right? Then I mean there is no meaning in life. Okay, you have been given birth to this life for a particular purpose, so you got to have some aims in your life. මේ අරමුණු තියෙන්න ඕනේ, right? It could be to pass your examinations really well, right? And uh, could be to start a business one day, or to could become a top-notch CEO of a company, right? Right. Okay. Or some people, they want to be happy in life, they don't want to achieve much in life, but they want to be happy in life. So likewise, different individuals will have different aims in life. Okay, right? So just like that, students, right? Just like that, if you look at a business organization will also have a lot of aims, right? අරමුණු තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, right? Right, right. අරමුණු, right? So I'm writing the singular term also so that you all can understand very nicely, right? As a business organization, based on the business that you are in, based on the business that you are carrying out your based on the industry that you are in, that you're doing your business, you would want to satisfy certain aims, right? So in general, students, I have listed few of the main aims that any business organization would be willing to achieve during their term span of their business, right? Irrespective of what business that you are doing, right? Irrespective of what industry that you are in, these aims that we are going to learn now are general aims for any business organization. Understood? Right. So in that case, we'll talk about these aims one by one. Okay. Right. Okay. As usual, if you all have any clarification, students, kindly let me know. If you all have any clarifications, kindly let me know, right? While we are doing the discussion, I'll be able to what do you call, clarify those doubts, right? Right. The first aim of a business is survival in the market, right? So while I'm reading, you can fill your blanks, right? Fill your blanks, right? Survival in the market, right? 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 Survival in the market, right? Right. Right. Okay. Now, students, if you look at any business organization, right, they are connected to a particular industry, right? They are connected to a particular industry, right? Right. Right. Now, as an example, let's say if you take the biscuit manufacturing industry in Sri Lanka, we have a lot of competitors that are there, right? Munchie, Maliban, they are like the pioneers in the biscuit manufacturing industry. Apart from Munchie, Maliban, we have uh, Kist, of course, they produce certain types of biscuits, right? Okay. Uh, so likewise, we do have different types of competitors in a particular market, in a particular industry, right? Right. So in that case, if you start a biscuit manufacturing company, you're not the only company who is manufacturing biscuit. There are ample amount of competitors that is there in the market, right? In the biscuit manufacturing market, right? So in that case, students, the first aim of a business is actually to somehow survive in that market, right? Somehow you got to survive in that market because you have a lot of competition, right? You have a lot of competition. Competition is actually one particular reason, right? Apart from that, right, I'll be discussing few other uh, factors that will affect uh, uh, for your survival in the market. There are ample amount of factors that are there, right? Okay, right, right. So in the market, the business organization which does the, I mean, who are offering the product at its best quality, at its finest quality, the business organization who can satisfy the customers to the maximum level possible, right? Right, 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 will be able to survive in the market, will be able to survive in the market, right? Okay, just like in a jungle, na? Just like in the jungle, right? The strongest and the fittest animals will be able to survive, right? Otherwise, you'll become a prey of another animal, ne? Right? So that's why it is. Even in the business world, also, you got to be very strong when you're doing business, right? You got to be very competitive, right? Your brand should be in the top of the minds of the people. Then only you'll be able to survive in the market, right? If you are not doing anything correct, if you have lost your focus in the market, then consumers will forget about your brand, right? Consumers will forget about your brand. So consumers will go to other brands. Consumers will go to other products. So then how can you earn revenue if your customers are not coming and buying your product? Then you will incur only the cost. Why you have to produce? No. For that you need to incur cost. But you're not getting revenue on the other side because the customers are not choosing your product. Then you won't be able to survive for so long. Understood? Right. So that is called, students, the one of the main aims of a business is to survive in the market. Right. A business must at least earn enough money. I told you, earn enough money through revenue. Right. Through revenue. Right. Revenue. Enough revenue should be there to cover its operating costs. Right. Right. For a business organization, you have certain day-to-day costs that you need to incur for your manufacturing, for your buying of material. How can you cover up those operating costs if you don't have enough money? If not, you won't be able to survive in the market, right? So, as I told you, um, uh, there are several problems, right? There are several problems or several factors that will what do you call impact business organizations in the market, right? uh, for them to survive, right? right most of the cases, new business organization, if you start a new business and if you go to the market, it will be very very hard to survive for you, because you have a lot of problems as a new business organization, right? As an example, you go to the biscuit manufacturing industry, right, with a new brand, right? And you got to compete with those pioneer brands like Munchie, Maliban. They are, I mean, they have a big asset base. Their brands are huge. People know about their brand. So as a new brand, you might face certain problems, right? So let's list down certain problems or factors that could be there for your business if you are going to a market brand new. Okay, so you can write number one, right? The first point you can write scarcity of resources, right? Scarcity of resources, right? Scarcity of resources, right? So if you are a newcomer to the market, sometimes you might not be able to get the resources, or the resources might not be available regularly, right? Right, because you are a new person, you don't know, right, much, right? Sampath Hingai. Sometimes you might not have expertise, no, right? Limited expertise, right? Okay, right? Limited expertise, right? In terms of running the operations, right? The owner of the business organization is very new to the industry. Sometimes the employees who are working are very new to the industry, right? Right. So limited expertise. But if you compare it with other large biscuit manufacturing companies like Munchie and Maliban, they have been in the business for the last 50, 70 years, right? They have enough an amount of expertise. They have top managers who has been in the industry for more than 30, 40 years. That's a very good expertise for those business. But those things, as a newcomer, you won't be able to get. So that's a problem to you, right? So these problems will impact for your survival in the market. What else? Competition, right? I directly explained at the very beginning. Competition, right? Competition from other business organizations, right? Could be could be a hindering factor for your survival, right? Okay, right. Sometimes there might be a limited customer base, limited customer base, limited customer base. Because if you are a newcomer to the market, customers won't be willing to uh, consume your product, right? Voluntarily, because something new, no? Right? We also like that. No, we as consumers, we might not go for we might not you consume a brand new product then and there. We do research about the product and then only we use it, right? But for the old products, old brands in the market, we don't do that, right? We have enough an amount of experience. So that's why it says there could be limited customer base, right? Limited customer base for you, right? So it will take some time, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years for you to build a good customer base. Still, it's a limitation for you, right? Right. Sometimes there could be errors in decision making, errors in decision making, right? You can write these points, right? Errors in decision making, because the top managers or the decision makers of your business organization might not be having enough expertise and experience in terms of making a decision, right? Okay, right. Compared to the people who had been in the industry for the last 30, 40 years in the companies like Munchie and Maliban, right? So I'm just taking the biscuit manufacturing industry as an example, okay? So as a result, it could be a struggle for you, right? Or else there could be unforeseen events, right? Right? Unforeseen events or unforeseen costs that you might have to incur without any plan, right? Like COVID-19 pandemic. No, business organizations never expected those, never forecasted those. If you are a new business, if these events, unforeseen events are happening, economic crisis situations, those will have a bigger impact on your survival, right? So students, just wanted to give you a small update about the factors that will hinder your survival in the market. So I told you, you have to face all these things, right? If you face all these factors very well, if you have a plan to uh, face all these factors really well, you'll be able to survive in the market, right? Then you'll be put into the category of the strongest and the fittest. The strongest and the fittest will survive, right? Right? The weakest will die in the market. Understood? Right. So the same thing applies to business organizations as well. All right. Okay. All right, students. Let's move on to the second. Let's move on to the uh, second aim of a business. Right. Right. So you can write profit maximization. Right. Right. Profit maximization. Profit maximization. Right. Okay. Right. Right. Now, this is one of the key aims of a business, right? Right. If you are also willing to start a business, your first aim is what? To make profits, no? Right. Right. We don't start businesses to make losses, no, isn't it? You know, if you want to start a business, you want to make some money out of it, right? You want to make some profits out of it, right? So profit maximization is also another important aim of a business. Okay, right. So you're trying to earn as much as profits as possible. The maximum profit can be calculated by deducting the total cost incurred by the business from the total revenue, right? So that of course you know, right? Right. So the profit is calculated. Profit is equal to, right, the total revenue earned by the business minus the total cost. That's what you do in your income statement. That's what you do in your income statement, right? Right. So in your income statement, right, you calculate your profit, right? Your gross profit, your net profit, no, isn't it? Right. So anyway, you are trying to earn as much as profits as possible, right? So simply, if you want to achieve more profits, what do you need to do? You got to increase your revenue as much as possible. Okay? You got to increase your revenue as much as possible, right? Right. When the revenue is increasing, okay, in the top of the income statement, you put the revenue. No? When the revenue is increasing at a higher rate and your cost is actually constant or going down, okay, cost is constant or going down, then you will earn more profits. You will earn more profits. Understood? So simple theory. Okay, right? Simple theory. Right now, students, in here, I just want to mention one small thing, right? Right. In here, a lot of students might be thinking, if you want to increase the profits of your business organization, you know, you got to keep your cost constant or reduce your cost as much as possible. Okay. And increase your revenue. Now, reducing the cost, listen to me very carefully. Okay. Reducing the cost, right, does not mean that making your product inferior, right? So a lot of business organizations, they go wrong in here. They try to reduce the cost by simply reducing the quality of the materials that they use, no, right? So they try to buy a very low cost material, but the quality of those material are very inferior. අපි කියන්නේ බාලයි කියලා කියන්නේ. So when you use those inferior quality material to reduce your cost, yes, you reduce your cost because you can get them at a very low price. But what happened? At the bottom line, you get these inferior quality material and you use them and make your final product, and at the end of the day your final product will also be inferior. Ne? Right? That's why a lot of customers they complain about products, right? Customers go and buy, okay, the price is low because the cost is low, so the business organization will price it at a very lower rate, but you go it and buy it, but you could use it only like few days and then it breaks. So reducing the cost means not making your product inferior. That is wrong, right? There are mechanisms that you could use to reduce your cost, right? There are mechanisms that you could use to reduce your cost, right? Okay, right, right. So those mechanisms, of course, uh, I mean, in the future when you all are learning management, you'll be learning, right? Not for business studies, but when you all are doing your degree programs, right? So you have concepts like just-in-time systems, JIT systems, uh, total quality management systems, right? Okay, right. So I will write them, right? So you have concepts like TQM, total quality management. Then you have concepts like JIT, right? Just-in-time systems, right? Then you have what you call 5S systems. No, I think you have heard of 5S systems, how to organize your activities and all, right? Right. So likewise, there are lots of scientific mechanisms. These are few of those, right? Right. When you are doing your degree programs in business management, you'll be learning about these concepts. Most of the concepts are from Japan, right? From the Japanese organizations, right? Companies like Toyota, they're using these scientific approaches, right? Just to make their products more effective, make their vehicles more effective, right? Right. So likewise, these mechanisms could be used to reduce your cost or keep your cost constant, right? And on the other side, students, you got to find ways to increase your revenue, right? The best thing that you could do is, if you want to increase your revenue, you got to bring more customers buying your product. That should be your focus. If the customers are buying your product, then only you can increase your revenue, eh, right? So what can we do for that? That should be your focus. You got to keep your customers happy. You got to satisfy your customers. Very important, right? Don't just sell a product for the sake of selling. Identify the needs of the customers, and based on that, you try to satisfy them. If you do that, if you do that, customers will come and buy your product. Understood? Very important. Understand the real needs of the customers. What do they want? Based on those needs, you add features to your product and then you sell it. So ultimately, you are satisfying the needs of the customers through your product. So the customers will flow to your company and buy your products then and there. Why? Their needs have been satisfied. Understood, right? So you have to bring more sales, right? Okay. So I will just I just wanted to explain how to maximize your profit, right? So you want to earn as much as profits as possible, right? The next objective, students, right? Right? The next aim of a business is just like profit maximization, sales maximization, sales maximization, right? Okay, right, right, right. How can you bring more sales? How can you increase your revenue, right? How can you increase your revenue as much as possible? How can you increase your sales as much as possible? That is one of the aims of a business organization, right? Okay. Now, based on our previous discussion, if you increase your sales, then on the other side, you'll be able to increase your profits if the cost is constant or it goes down. Okay. Right. So in that case, how can you increase your sales, students? right? How can you increase your sales? Because in the market, there could be lots of competitors, right? If you take the soft drinks market in Sri Lanka, you have Pepsi, you have Coca-Cola, you have Elephant House, and you have other minor business organizations also, right? Okay. So in that case, the entire market of the soft drinks industry, entire market of the soft drinks industry in Sri Lanka, right? All of these business organizations, all these soft drinks companies are actually focusing on attracting those customers, because Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Elephant House, and all the other soft drinks companies, they are focusing on the same set of customers, right? Same set of customers who are interested in consuming a soft drink. So those customers either could go and buy a Coke, or either could go and buy a Pepsi, or either could go and buy another soft drink. So in that case, as a business organization, you got to make your product to be in the top of your mind of your customers, right? You got to be the best in your industry. Then only more customers will come and buy, right? Okay, right, right, right. Now, as an example, in Sri Lanka, right? I mean, majority of the people, they consume Coca-Cola, right? They consume Coca-Cola. Let's look at from the context of Sri Lanka, right? Right, right. So a considerable amount of the market has been captured by Coca-Cola. So for Coca-Cola to be in the top of the minds of the consumers, they do a lot of things. They do a lot of things. Okay, right. The first thing that they do is their taste. Right? If you look at a Coke, what do you call, soft drink, I'm also because I'm a huge fan of Coca-Cola, right? Okay, right. So if you look at the taste of it, right, I think all of you all have tasted Coca-Cola at least once in a lifetime, right? Okay, once in a time in your life, right? So the taste is very unique, right? Right, 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 right. The taste is very unique, right? Right? If you freeze a Coca, I mean, if you put your Coca-Cola in a refrigerator and if you cool it down, right? If you cool it, right, you have that crisp flavor, right? That's what I like about Coke, right? You have that crisp flavor when you when you put it in your mouth, right? You get to find that crisp flavor. I don't know how they get it, but it's unique. It's unique. So people love it. People love it. People want to experience that over and over again, right? Right, right. So you got to make your product unique from compared to your competitors, right? And also the other thing is, if you take Coca-Cola, during the festive seasons, they do a lot of campaigns, right? Right. They do. I mean, for Sinhala and Tamil New Year, they do have separate campaigns, right? Where you have the Urdu theme campaigns. Then for what do you call, Islamic religious festivals, right? Right, Ramazan and all, they have a different campaign, right? Okay, right, right, right. Then for different, then for Tamils, for those events, they do have different campaigns. For Christmas, they do have different campaign where you could find that Coca-Cola truck roaming around the country, right? So look how nicely they do it. They try to show we are not favoring any religion, right? We are treating every religion, every caste, every human being in the same way. So that is the message that they are trying to give, right? Look how nice they communicate their message, right? Bringing people together, right? So likewise, students, you, if you are doing a business, you got to find ways to make your product unique compared to your competitors through your features, through the communication, through your advertisements, the way that you treat the customers. You got to be different from the rest of the competitors, right? Then what happens? People will feel special about consuming your product, right? People will not leave your brand no matter whatever happens. They will become loyal to your brand. අපි කියන එකට customer loyalty කියලා කියනවා. Whatever happens, customers will not leave your brand. Right? That is called customer loyalty. Right? Just like I drink Coca-Cola, right? If I go to a supermarket, I buy a Coke. Right? If I go on a trip, I buy a Coke. If I go to another country, I buy a Coke. Right? I'm loyal to Coca-Cola, right? Right now, don't think that I'm just promoting Coca-Cola, but I'm just telling my personal experience, right? Coca-Cola is in the top of my mind, and whenever I want to buy a soft drink, I go for a Coca-Cola. So likewise, you will also have your favorite soft drinks, right? So anyway, that's how you increase your sales. That's how you increase your sales as much as possible. Then only you can increase your profits. Understood, students? Yes? Understood? Right. Okay, fine. Any questions as of now? Online students, is everything okay? Online students, is everything okay? Right. Okay, super. Right, fine. Okay. Now we'll move on to the fourth. We'll move on to the fourth aim, right? Fourth aim of a business. What's that? What's the fourth aim of a business? Increasing market share, right? Increasing market share. You can write with me, okay? You can write with me, right? Okay, right, right. Now, what do you mean by this market share, students? Right? What do you mean by this market share? Right now, you might have a very good understanding about this because earlier also we discussed, right? Right. Now, market share means, right? Um, let's say you're doing a business in a particular industry, right? Let's say as an example, the soft drinks industry, right? The soft drinks industry in Sri Lanka. If you look at the soft drinks industry, right, right, Coca-Cola is not the only business organization. You have other competitors like Pepsi, Elephant House, and other soft drink companies, right? Now, this entire soft drinks market, right? If you take the entire soft drinks market, right, is being shared among these soft drinks manufacturers, right? Right, the entire soft drinks market is being shared among these soft drinks manufacturers, right? Okay, right, right. So each of these soft drinks company, right, will have each of these soft drinks companies have achieved a particular percentage of the market for themselves, right? So let me what do you call, put it in a different way, graphically. Okay, let me put it in a different way graphically, right? Right, 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 right. So this is the soft drinks market, right? Soft drinks market, right? Soft drinks market, okay, right, right, okay, right, right. So fine, okay, right, right. So just assume that this is the soft drinks market in Sri Lanka. So I'm gonna explain you what is market share, right? Just slightly, I'm gonna explain you what is market share, right? Okay. Now, market share, as I explained earlier, right? This is the size of the market each company accommodates, right? Each company accommodates, right? So if you look at the soft drinks industry, right, you have, right, companies like Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola. Then you have Pepsi, right? Right. Then you have Elephant House, right? These are the competitors. Elephant House, right? Right. These are the three main competitors in the market, right? Okay. Right. Now, if you look at these three soft drink competitors in the soft drinks industry or the soft drinks market in Sri Lanka, they capture a particular size or a particular percentage from this entire market, right? None of them has captured the 100% market. No, right? Right. So that could happen only if you have one soft drinks manufacturer in Sri Lanka. Then the entire market is for him because people won't have any options. They have to go and buy from that particular soft drinks manufacturer. But if you look at our market, you have a lot of competitors, and out of it, I have taken three competitors, right? I have not taken other minority soft drinks manufacturers, right? So if you look at these, what do you call soft drinks manufacturer, they have captured the entire market of the soft drinks manufacturing industry in Sri Lanka to a particular percentage. That is called the market share. The share of the market that they accommodate, right? Now, students, if you look at the market share could be actually what do you call calculated in different ways, right? I mean, not in different ways. I would say you can use different bases to calculate the market share of each company. අපි යම් කිසි දෙයක් පදනම් කරගෙන අපිට market share එක calculate කරන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, right? Now, in here, let's assume that we are taking the base of number of, so we are taking the base as, let's say, let's assume that the base that we are taking to calculate the market share is actually the number of bottles, right? Number of bottles being manufactured, right? Let's take number of bottles, right? Right. How many bottles are being manufactured? How many bottles are being manufactured, right? Right now, each company will manufacture bottles based on the demand that they have from the consumers. Right? So let's take the number of bottles as a base, and from that, let's look at how can we calculate the market share, right? Okay, right, fine. Right, now let's say the entire soft drinks market, if you take in general, hypothetical figures, these are not real figures. I'm repeating once again, hypothetical figures. Assumption එකක් විදිහට අරගෙන තමයි කරන්නේ. Don't think that this is the reality, okay? Right. So on a given month, let's assume that the soft drinks market in Sri Lanka on a monthly basis, on a given month, right? 100 bottles are manufactured, right? 100 bottles are manufactured and bottled and distributed. I'm just taking hypothetical figures. It should not be 100. It could be like millions, right? But I'm taking for a simple explanation. Just assume that there are only 100 bottles being distributed entirely in the total market. Okay, 100 bottles, right? Now, let's look at how these 100 bottles are being shared among the competitors, right? From these 100 bottles, let's say Coca-Cola is actually producing 40 bottles, right? From these 100 bottles a month, Coca-Cola is actually producing 40 bottles, right? Okay, right? Then let's say Pepsi is producing, let's say 30%, right? Right? 30 bottles, sorry, 30 bottles, right? And then the balance is how much? 40, 50, 60, 70, right? Another, let's say another 30%. Elephant House. Okay, right? Another 30 bottles, right? So we have taken the amount of bottles that is being distributed and manufactured in the total soft drinks market. And hypothetically, we took it's 100 bottles. If we dig deeper and see from these 100 bottles, Coca-Cola is putting 40 bottles to the market on a monthly basis. Pepsi is putting 30 bottles and Elephant House is putting 30 bottles. Then from these students, we can calculate the market share that each and every company is holding from the total soft drinks manufacturing market. Right? Right. Now, if you take Coca-Cola, right? If you take Coca-Cola, right? Right. What can you say about the market share? How much? It is 40%, right? It is 40%, right? From 100, right? Right? Very simple, right? From 100, they have 40. So it's, if you what do you call connect it to percentage format, it's 40%, right? Okay. Pepsi, from 100, they are producing 30. So it's 30%. Likewise, right? Understood? So likewise, you can get the market share from the total. What is the percentage that they are producing to the market, right? So based on the figures, we can draw, right? Okay. So Coca-Cola is actually 40%. This is Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is how much? 40%. They're producing 40%, right? Then the balance market is actually taken by Pepsi and Elephant House. Pepsi is actually, they are taking 30%. Pepsi, right? Pepsi is how much? 30%. And then you have Elephant House, they have taken another 30%. Right. Look how the entire market is being captured, right? At different percentages, right? So this is called market share. Where from the total soft drinks manufacturing market, Coca-Cola is accommodating 40% of the market. Pepsi is 30% and Elephant House is 30%. This is how you explain market share, right? This is how you explain market share, right? Now, don't think students, now in this example, we have taken the number of bottles as a base, right? As the base, ne? Here, as the base, the number of bottles as the base, number of bottles, 100 bottles, number of bottles as the base. From the total, how many bottles are being produced by each soft drinks company? Now, don't think that the number of units that they produce is actually not the only base which is being used. Okay, right? So let me give you some other bases that we can use, right? Right. One is we can use the number of units that we produce. That of course we have used here, the number of bottles, number of units produced, number of units produced, right? Right. Right. Or else another popular base could be the total amount of sales, right? Right. Sales, the sales value, total sales value we take as a base, right? Right. We take the total sales value as the base, and from that, how each company is bringing the value, right? Coca-Cola, how much sales value? Pepsi, how much? Elephant House, how much? From the total, we get the percentage, the total sales value. Based on the number of customers that you serve, from the total customers, this company serve this amount of customers, and then you can get the market share, right? Okay, right. Uh, what else that we can use? What else? Right, right. Or else we can use the geographic basis. The geographic basis also as a consideration. The geographic basis, right? Right. We say from the Colombo, right? From the Colombo uh, district, this amount of market share is being accommodated by this company. From the northern province, this amount of market share is being accommodated by this company. So geographic basis. So students, we have different bases that we can use in order to emphasize the market share. But our discussion is actually, now we know what is market share. Our discussion is the main aim of a business is to what? Increase market share. Increase market share. Why? Because students, now Coca-Cola is actually accommodating 40% of the market. Pepsi 30, Elephant House 30. Now, if Coca-Cola wants to increase the percentage, if Coca-Cola wants to increase the percentage that they share, or if they want to increase the market share, right? If they want to increase the market share, right? What can they do? Huh? Right? If they want to increase the market share from 40% to 45%, 50%, 60%, what you need to do then? Simple. You have to get the customers from other competitors to your brand, right? If Coca-Cola is increasing to 45%, 50%, then they have to take it from the other competitors, right? So which means it's actually a big fight, right? It's a fight between the competitors. They are trying to somehow increase their market share. Increasing their market share means you are actually capturing the territory of the other competitor, capturing the customers of other competitors. So other competitors, will they like this? No, they won't. They will also fight back. They will also do different things to capture from you to their bucket. There you go. So this is how you do business. This is how you increase your market share. So you can do a lot of things. You can increase the quality of your product to do that, right? Or else you can do what you call, you can have a very good customer satisfaction level, right? Right. You can do a lot of marketing, advertising, those things, of course, we will discuss in our marketing management lesson. Okay, right? How we can do all these things, right? But for the time being, this is about the discussion about market share. So students, so I took a little bit of time for you to increase about market share. That's fine. Okay, right. So the next aim of a, right, the next aim of a business is what? Growth. The fifth aim of a business, right, is growth. 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 Right. Okay. As a business organization, student, you cannot stay in the same place, right? Right. Right now, when you're starting a business, you are at a particular stage, right? In terms of the revenue, in terms of the number of customers that you serve, right? In terms of the asset base that you have. No, you were at a particular level when you were starting the business. Now you cannot stay at the same level even after 50, 60 years. Then of course, which means that you have not done anything, right? There had been no growth, right? So when you're doing a business, you got to grow continuously. Even in our personal lives, also students, we don't like to stay in the same place. No, we don't like to stuck in the middle. We just want to grow with knowledge, with the amount of assets that we have, right? With the amount of skills that we have, we want to grow. Just like that, a business organization also has to grow, right? Right. So if the business organization is growing, right, business organization can attract new investors, no? investors would love to invest in business organization who are growing continuously. Why? The money that they invest is actually doubled, tripled, right? And it is being saved, right? If the business organization is growing, it can attract new employees, skillful employees. More recognition will be there, right? On a national basis, your brand will be recognized, right? And if you grow further, your brand will be recognized by the entire world. Like we have brands like what? Netflix, Uber, Starbucks, Nike, Adidas. All those brands started very small, where they were limited to their country. But now those are all global brands, right? Has been expanded to every corner of the world. More recognition is there when you grow, right? So growing is also an aim of a business. You don't like to stay in the same place, but you want to grow. Number 6, right? Number 6, increasing customer satisfaction. Very important, right? I was harping on this part even in our previous discussion also. Increasing customer satisfaction, right? Customer satisfaction, very important, right? You do everything. You increase the product quality, right? You do marketing, you do advertising, but if you don't listen to your customers, they will not be satisfied. If you don't listen to your customers, you will produce whatever the product that you want, but it won't match the requirements of the customers. So when you're doing business, if you're providing a physical good or a service, it should match the requirements of the customer. Understood? Very important. Otherwise, if you don't match the requirements of the customers will be dissatisfied. And they will say, no point of buying this particular brand from this particular company. It's a waste of money. They will say that. No, right? We also say that, no, if you go to a restaurant and if you if you don't get good food, no, right, right, for the money that you pay like 10,000, 15,000 rupees, but the food that you get is like rubbish, not good at all. Are you happy? No, you're not happy. You're sad. And then you won't stop there. You will go and tell to your friends and your relatives to never go to that restaurants hereafter, right? Look how that will backfire on the company. So in that case, students, if you're doing a business, if you are providing a service, or if you are making a physical good, make sure that you satisfy your customers. Listen to them very carefully. They will give you feedback. Listen to them very carefully and make changes. Otherwise, you'll end up. Otherwise, you'll end up in the market. Okay. Number 7, right? Number 7, right? The next aim of a business is what? Right? The 7th aim, social and community welfare. Social and community welfare. Social and community welfare. Right? Okay. Right. Now, students, when you are doing a business, right, as we discussed earlier, one of your key aims is to maximize your profits, maximize your sales revenue. Yes, we know that is one of the key objectives, right? On top of that, students, there is another area nowadays. Businesses are very, uh, very concerned in terms of achieving. That is social and community welfare. Because nowadays, business know there is no point of making profits over and over again if you don't do something for the betterment of the society, right? Okay, right, right, right. No point of doing business if you don't do something for the betterment of the society, betterment of the economy. Yes, right, because when you're doing business, you make profits, you increase your sales. Because of whom? Because of your customers. When they buy continuously your products, You increase your revenue, you increase your profits. Because of them, you have increased your profits. Right? If you didn't have any customers, you won't be at this place. It's all because of your customers. It's all because your customers actually trusted your product compared to your competitors. Now you have something, right, that needs to be given back to them also. You gain something from them. Now you got to give something back to them also. No, we learn these things also, no, in normal human life, no, right? We got to help others, right? Yes, we get help from others, and then if you come to a different level, you got to help others also. Right? That's the nature of life. Just like that in business, all the students, you got to help the society, right? You got to increase the welfare of the society, right? So that's why, have you all seen a lot of business organizations? They do help the society. They organize uh, what do you call different tree planting campaigns just to help the environment, right? And some business organizations, they go to rural villages, right? And they make what do you call water filtering systems free of charge to those rural people. They go to rural villages and make libraries and IT facilities for school children, those who are unfortunate. Right? Those are good things that you can do with the profits that you have earned. Okay, those are called social and community welfare activities that you do. Right? Social and community welfare activities that you do. The things that you can do to the society for the welfare of the society with the profits that you have generated. Right? Right? Look how nice it is. It's time for you to contribute towards the well-being of the society. Right? Well-being of the society. Right? So business is not all about making profits, but you got to use that profit and help the society. Why, students? If your society is not sustaining, නේ වාගේ ඔයාගේ සමාජය ඉස්සරහට තිබ්බේ නැත්තම් ඔයාට customers නැති වෙයිනේ. So you have to protect the society. You have to protect these customers, because in the future they are going to be the customers who will buy your products. Okay, so you got to do something for the betterment of the society. So that is another aim. So nowadays we see a lot of things like that. Uh, and then at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, right? The final aim of the business is what? The personal satisfaction of the businessman. The personal satisfaction of the businessman, right? The personal satisfaction of the businessman. Why, students? Right now, you have been making profits as the owner of the business organization. You have put your heart and soul and effort and everything. Now the business organization is making thumping profits, right? Right. And also on top of that, your customers are also happy now. They are satisfied to the maximum extent possible. And also on top of that, as the owner of the business organization, you have done something for the betterment of the society. You help the society, you help the community for the welfare. You do all those things, but at the end of the day, as the owner, if you are not happy, then there's a big problem, right? Come on, you started this business for your own satisfaction, but at the end of the day, you make everyone happy and you're not happy. That's a big problem. So in that case, students, another aim of a business is to personally satisfy their owners of the business or the investors who are investing in the business, right? You got to satisfy them. Okay. Owners may start or run the business not only to make money, but also to feel happy, proud, and fulfilled. Right. So the owner should be proud enough to say, hey, I built this company from the scratch. And now this business organization is giving jobs to thousands of people, not only in Sri Lanka, but also in other countries. So by looking at that, you got to be happy. You got to be proud, because it it was all because of the decision that you made like 30, 40 years ago to start this business. Personal satisfaction of the owner. Understood, right? Okay, students, so this marks the end of the discussion about the main aims of the business. So make sure that you take 1 minute and recap the main aims of the business, and then we'll take things forward. And also, students, if you have any clarifications, if you have a problem, kindly let me know now. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, students, are you all with me? Physical students, are you all okay? Okay, all right. Online students, is everything all right? Do you all have any further clarification? Can I get a small feedback? Is everything okay? All right. Thank you very much. Okay, fine. All right, students, now that we have discussed the main aims of a business, we'll take things forward. Right. Okay, right. Now, students, now, next we are going to discuss, right, another practical area, right? How a business is contributing to the economy, right? How a business is contributing to the economy and to the society, right? Earlier we discussed a little bit how one of the main aims of a business is to help for the welfare of the society, right? So on top of that, to the society and also to the economy, how a business organization could contribute, right? So if you take a business organization, it's a part of economy, right? If a part of an economy, right? If you take companies like John Keel's Holdings, these big companies, Hades, right? Hatton National Bank, all those big companies, irrespective of whether they are into different industries, they are all part of the Sri Lankan economy, right? They are all part of the Sri Lankan economy. So, what are these business organizations are contributing to the society? That's what our discussion is about, right? Now, the first point of how a business organization would contribute to the society is through job creation, right? Is through job creation. Okay, right? Right. So any business organization, they create jobs, right? They create jobs into different areas. It could be into marketing, it could be into management, it could be into finance, right? Production. So at the end of the day, a business organization will create jobs, right? Now, when these jobs are created, right, we as individuals, we can go and work for these companies, right? Right. We can work for this company. Is it for free of charge? No, right? We are earning a salary, right? We work for a salary, right? We work for a wage or a salary, right? We work for a wage or a salary. Wage is something which is given on an hourly basis, right? On a daily basis. අපි කියනට පැයකට රුපියල් ගාණක් දෙනවා, දවසකට රුපියල් ගාණක් දෙනවා. So those are called wages. Salaries are actually given on a monthly basis, right? Right. Given on a monthly basis, right? With a particular agreement, right? Okay. So anyway, we all do jobs for a particular wage or a salary. That is going to be our individual income to look after our families, to look after ourselves, to satisfy our needs and wants, right? Understood? So that's one. That's the first way of how businesses are contributing to the society and to the economy, right? And also, student, the other thing is, if as an economy, if you have a lot of individuals who are unemployed, if the unemployment rate is very high, if the unemployment rate is very high, is it good or bad? What is unemployment rate? The rate at which people are not employed for a job. What do you say? If the unemployment rate is very high, Is it good or bad to an economy? What do you think? Just think practically. If there are a lot of people who doesn't have jobs, is it good for the economy or is it bad for the economy? What do you say? Hmm? What do you say, students? What do you say? Is it good or bad? High unemployment rates, is it good for economy or is it bad for an economy? There you go, it's bad, right? Exactly. If the rate of people who are not having jobs are increasing continuously, that's very bad for the economy because that's a burden for the economy. If this rate is increasing, unemployment rate, right? And if this rate is increasing, then it's a burden for the government of Sri Lanka. Why? People doesn't have ways to earn income. If you don't have a job, right? If you don't have a job, then how can you earn some income? Huh? That's a big problem. That's a big problem, right? So in that case, students, if the unemployment rate is increasing, then that's a burden for the economy. That's a burden for the economy. So according to the reports, students, the unemployment rate in Sri Lanka is around 4%, right? Right, around 4%, which is at a very lower rate. That is good, right? Right. So according to the latest figures, that is around 4%, like 3.8 that at that particular age. If this goes into 60%, 70%, that's a very big problem, right? Then the government has to look after these people. It's a big burden. If it's a big cost for the economy, right? So business organization, they are contributing by providing jobs so that this unemployment rate will go down, right? Okay, fine. The second way of how business organizations are contributing to the well-being of the economy and society is through economic growth, right? Economic growth. Economic growth, right? Okay. Economic growth, right? Right. So students, now if you look at from an from the economy's point of view, right? Right. Business organizations should contribute towards the gross domestic product or the gross domestic production of the country, right? Okay. And now business organizations could be into different industries, right? Now, what is this gross domestic product? Right? What do you mean by this gross domestic product? Right? Okay. Right. Very simple, students. So gross domestic production means, right? Now there are business organization into different industries, right? Some are into agriculture, okay? Some are into cultivation. Some business organizations, they are into cultivation. Some business organizations, they are into manufacturing, right? Some business organizations, they are into providing professional services, consultancy services. So likewise, students, different business organizations are into different categories, right? But at the end of the day, all those business organizations are creating value for the economy by producing a particular good or providing a service. Value is created, right? When a particular good is manufactured, that is being sold to the consumers and a value is being generated because those goods are not sold free of charge. No, right? It has a price. So a value is generated. If a service is provided, a value is generated out of it, right? It could be from internally from the country or it could be from other countries also. Why? Some business organizations, they manufacture and they export to other countries like tea. then we are getting foreign revenue to the country. So at the end of the day, students, gross domestic production captures the real value, the value of the production of the goods, right? Value of the production, the value is it is being created from the production of the goods and rendering of the services, right? Rendering of the services, right? So anyway, when business organizations are providing different goods and offering different services, those will create value for the business, for the economy. Then that will lead to economic growth. That will lead to economic growth, right? That will lead to economic growth, right? Then as a country, you don't depend on other countries, right? Why? Inside your country, you have business organizations manufacturing different types of goods, not only for the country, but for the export market. So you get a lot of foreign income, services are being offered to other countries, value is created. So that will lead to a growth in your economy as well, because more value is being generated, more money coming into your economy. Then slowly your economic growth rate will increase, right? Economic growth rate will increase. Understood? So another contribution will be for economic growth. Another contribution will be for economic growth. That's why the government of Sri Lanka is actually providing lots of support, right? Lots of support for new business organizations to start. If you are an entrepreneur, right? If you are an entrepreneur, if you want to start a new business, you can get the support from the government, because the government is willing to support new businesses, right? New businesses, because the government knows these new businesses will bring value to the country, right? Will bring value to the country. Understood, right? So in that case, students, uh, right, in that case, through economic growth, right, through economic growth, we are trying to increase, right? We are trying to increase the growth of the economy. So at the currently, currently our economic growth rate is around 4%, right? Currently our economic growth rate is around 4%, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let me just check it once again, right? Right. So our economic growth rate is around 4%, right? Right. So I think, I mean, lately I've listened to some of the conversations of the government, and uh, they're trying to take this economic growth to a double-digit figure, right? By the end of their what you call tenure, right? So let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the best, right? So more the economic growth rate, that is better for the economy, right? Then your economy is strong. Understood? Right. Fine. Okay. Then let's move on to the third point, how a business could contribute to the betterment of the economy and the society. What is the third point? Through taxes. Through taxes, right? Make sure that you write these things with me, okay? Through taxes, no? As a business organization, right? When you make profits, from the profits you have to pay taxes, right? So based on the business that you are doing, you will be put into different tax brackets, right? Right. Uh, uh, right. So based on the business that you are doing, right, you'll be putting into different tax brackets, and based on the bracket, you have to pay the corresponding tax percentage, right? Anyway, let's look at how this tax revenue, which is being collected by the government, how they use for the betterment of the society. Now, the taxes which are being paid from the businesses, from the profits of businesses, these taxes are being collected by government, and these taxes will be used, right? Will be used to enhance public services, Like what? Education, healthcare, infrastructure, social services, right? Okay. So that tax revenue is being used to improve the public services of the economy, right? So that's why the government is actually building universities, right? New schools, government schools, right? Building new hospitals, right? Right? Improving the infrastructure facilities, like they're building highways, expanding highways into different locations, right? Then the railway infrastructure is being what you call developed very recently. What do you call? They have introduced. Have you all seen? They have introduced those metro buses, the low flow metro buses, right? Have you all seen that? Yes, no, right? Yeah, new thing for the country, right? If you go to other countries, of course you have seen these things, right, specifically a country like UK, right, right. So these low floor metro buses are different developments to the transportation industry, right? People can comfortably now travel from one location to another location, right, without being jam packed in a bus, right? So that's how you increase the living scale of people, right, or the quality of life of people, right, right. And very recently I saw what do you call, the Colombo main bus stand has been refurbished, no, right, and the Maradana railway station has been refurbished once again, right? Okay, right. So a lot of new things are added, right? How the government is having money to do all those things, right? Right. Few of the tax revenues which is being captured from the businesses will be used. I'm not telling everything, but a particular percentage of it for the well-being of the people, right? Okay. So likewise, taxes, right? Taxes will help for the society and the economy. Fourth point. Fourth point. Okay. What is the fourth point? Innovation and development, right? Innovation and development, right? Innovation and development, right? Okay, right. What do you mean by this? Now, students, if you look at a business organizations, before that, are you all with me, students? Are there any clarifications that you all have? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? Yes, okay. Thank you very much, right? Okay. Now, students, as a business organization will always try to innovate their products, right? Right. Innovating means what? Right. අපි කියන සමහරට sometimes you use you are very innovative, right? Where you're trying to do new things, right? You're trying to do new things which has not been done before. So as a business organization, students, you got to do these new things. That is called innovation and development. And development means if you have an existing product, you're trying to develop it furthermore, right? Innovation means you're trying to come up with a totally a new thing, a revolutionized new thing, right? Okay. Innovation and development, right? Now, students, as an example, if you take companies like Uber, right? Companies like Uber, right? 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 Now, this Uber actually introduced the uh, ride-hailing services, right? Right? The ride-hailing services on an urgent basis. Ne? If you want to go from one location to another location, quickly you will be able to find a transport solution, right? It could be in a trishaw, it could be in a bike, or it could be in a car or a van or whatever. On an urgent basis, they started producing these ride-hailing services, because if you look at that's an innovative idea. Why in this taxi industry before Uber, it was very traditional, where if you wanted to book a taxi, right, you had to book these taxis in advance, like 3 weeks prior, right, right, right. On a traditional note, if you wanted to get a particular vehicle now, right? At an emergency, you can't get it actually. Right? It's very hard. I mean, you can, but it's very hard. Right? You got to make some calls for different taxi companies. You got to ask them whether they have available vehicles. Right? So it was very hard for a passenger to obtain a taxi service on an urgent basis. So Uber actually saw this problem in the market. Right? Uber saw this, and they totally revolutionized the taxi service industry. Right? Oh, I would say the ride hailing services industry. Right? By coming up with an innovative idea where through an app you can get a taxi anytime, anywhere, at any place in your country. Look how innovative it was, right? Look how innovative it is. No one has done that before, but Uber did it, right? Okay. So you have a lot of companies like that. Netflix, same, right? Right. Netflix. I don't want to tell the story. You all know the story, right? At your fingertips, you can watch a movie anytime you want at any place, at anywhere in the world. You got to log into your app. But before that, we had to go through the hassle of going to a CD shop, giving your ID card, and renting a CD. Right? Okay. So as a business organization, you got to be innovative. When you are innovative, you are trying to come up with new things, new products, new things to the market. So consumers will get an opportunity to use these new things. And as a result of it, their quality of life will improve. As a result of it, their quality of life will improve. Isn't it? Right? As I mentioned you earlier, right? Through Uber, a passenger's quality of life improved. Why? Now he doesn't have to worry about finding a taxi whenever he wanted. Right? Because now with the app, you can find any taxi at any point in time. Quality of service has been, the quality of life is improved. You don't have to go through the hassle of booking a taxi in advance. And sometimes the taxi doesn't come, then you be in trouble. Problem. Right? Okay. Look how your life is improved. Right? Your life is improved. The quality is being given to your life through business organizations, right? Through different types of innovations and developments, right? Okay, right. Okay. Uh, and also the other thing is there are with reference to this, there are so many innovations and developments which are happening in the healthcare industry also, right? Now, I hope that one day, one day, someone could find a cure for cancer, right? So that we could cure cancer and people will have a good life. Actually, like so many people are suffering from cancer and all those diseases, but no proper treatment is being found right now, right? So in that case, if a particular person finds it, then through a business we can distribute it to the entire citizens of the entire world who are suffering uh, from those diseases, so that they could get good health, increase in the quality of life, increase in the improving the quality of life. Understood? Right. Okay, fine. Okay, then we have the fifth point, students. Right. Right, the fifth point. Right. So students, I'm actually taking little bit of time to discuss these, because if you look at your past papers, in every past paper, right, these things have been tested, right? The main aims of a business, write 4 points and explain. How businesses are contributing to the society, write 4 points and explain. So that's why I'm taking a little bit of time for you to understand, so that you will not be in trouble in your examination. You will not be in trouble in your examination. Okay, the next point, right? The next point. Business organization will help the economy through community support. Community support, right? Community support, right? Right. right? So a lot of business organization students, they involve in charitable donations, sponsorships, and volunteering, right, in certain programs, right. So I think you might have heard of these things a lot, right? So I told you earlier also, a business organization will have a main aim to make profits, but on top of it, right, on top of it, they will have to do something for the betterment of the society. So voluntarily they give a lot of donations, right? Right. They give a lot of donations, right? So there had been ample amount of instances where in Sri Lanka in the past, where business organizations, private business organizations, they have donated millions and billions of rupees to improve the infrastructure facilities of the country. Right now, very recently also I came across, right? Uh, there had been a, I don't want to reveal the names, right? There had been a refurbishment of the Maradana railway station, right? Maradana railway station, right? And majority of the refurbishments, or the cost of the refurbishments, were uh, handled by one of the private companies. They have done it as a done it through a good cause, okay? Right? So they have done it. That particular private, I mean, that is one of the leading uh, private business organizations in the industry of tea exports in Sri Lanka, right? One of the pioneers, big company. So they have actually taken over the refurbishments of that particular Maradana railway station, right? Right. So they have given money, and from their cost, they have done it, right? Community support. Right. So likewise, a lot of business organizations do these things for the betterment of the society. They give sponsorships. They go to different rural areas. They make IT labs, libraries. Uh, uh, they do a lot of campaigns. They do donate water filtering systems. All those things are good things, right? Right. Voluntarily done. Right. 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 නිකම් මේ නිකං කවුරුවත් force කරලා නෙමෙයි. No one is forcing them. This business organization, they voluntarily do these things for the betterment of the society. So community support, through community support, business organizations are helping for the betterment of the economy and the society. Okay, students. So students, these are the main main factors that you can write on how a business organization could contribute to the economy and the society as a whole. Right? Okay, understood. Right now, take 1 or 2 minutes, recap those points, and after that, we'll move on to the other part of the session. Go ahead, students. Go ahead. And if you all have any questions, kindly ask. If you have any questions, kindly ask. Go ahead. Okay. All right, students. So now today, actually, we discussed one of the key areas in the first lesson, right? So we discussed what are the main aims of a business organization, right? And now you know through the discussion, making profits is not the only aim of a business. Sometimes before the session, you might have had an impression that making profits is the only aim of a business, but now there are more aims when you're doing a business that you need to focus upon, right? And after that, we discussed how a business organization could contribute to the well-being of the economy as well as to the well-being of the society, because business organizations will not make profits only for themselves. They will reuse those profits for the betterment of the society and the economy, because without a sustainable economy or without a sustainable society, they will not have customers in the future. So they understand that, so they help the society, they help they ensure the well-being of the economy as well, right? Without a good economy, without a growing economy, the business organizations cannot also grow. They cannot grow, right? Okay, so in that case, students, today our discussion was very informative, right? And I took a little bit of time for you all to explain these things, the points, because those are for sure tested in your examination. So make sure that you keep at least 4 to 5 points in your mind with the small explanation so that you can get the full marks for those questions if